Good morning, students. I hope we are all great today. I'm going to take us through the next topic, which is per unit systems. Per unit systems. You'll find it in your book in chapter 6. Let me quickly do some introductory work. If you want to solve problems on electrical power systems, we normally solve it in terms of the voltage, the volts. That is, I'm talking about the units now. We normally solve it in terms of the voltage, the volts, the amperes, the ohms, and the kVA. That is when we solve problem on a power system. While we are doing this computation, it is always easier to express. That is, naturally we are predisposed to solving our problems with all this in this particular form: volts, amperes, ohms, and kVA. This is what we are used to. But while you are doing the computation, it becomes even more convenient when you express this voltage, the current, the impedance, and power in percent or in per unit. That means it's much easier, and I'm going to let you understand that later. It's much easier when you express it in percentage, in per unit. It makes it much easier to solve your problem in power system. It's much easier. All you just need to do is to express this in per unit or percentage of a selected base. That is, you have a selected base or reference, a particular value that is for each quantity. You have a selected base or reference for each quantity. The per unit value of any quantity, the per unit value of any quantity. Let me repeat it again, that most of the time when we solve problem in power system, we normally solve it in volts, amperes, ohms, and kVA. And it becomes much easier when we solve it in percentage and in per unit of each of a selected base or reference. You have a selected base or reference value for each of the quantity. So per unit value itself is represented by the actual value of that particular quantity by the base value. Actual value by the base value, which is expressed as decimal, expressed in decimal. What is the actual value? The actual value is the real value. Then the base is the one that is chosen, the reference. Let me give you an analogy to help us understand how per unit system works. Let us take, for example, you have 5 guys. This is A, Mr. B, Mr. C, Mr. D. Let us assume that their weights are 50 kg. Mr. A weighs 50 kg. Mr. B weighs 100 kg. Mr. C weighs 150 kg. And Mr. D weighs 200 kg. If you look at it very well, these are their actual weights. These are their actual weights in kilogram. That is in the SI unit. In kilogram, these are their actual weights. Then, you need to have a reference base. If you want to put it in per unit now, the per unit value I told us is equal to the actual over the base. So the base is a chosen base, which in most cases is the biggest number.